everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, pretty much anywhere at Hawk Blogger. And we have a fun show tonight. It has been too long. I was getting teased and teasing our guest tonight because it's been a while since she's been on, but she's a special one. So we try to make sure we really save our chances with her. I'll introduce her in just a second. Before I do, let me bring in our co-host, Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB, who just finished his lovely, evening with his mother. I had a conversation with my mother earlier. Are we mama's boys, Evan? Is that what it is?
You know what? My mom is literally the smartest woman in my entire life. So I have to schedule weekly dates with her, Wednesday night walks. We have dinner together. We walk together. We talk about life together. She's amazing. And I mean that sincerely.
Yeah. I feel the same way. My mom's amazing. Very fortunate. And my dad's great too. But yeah, I would qualify myself as a mama's boy for sure. Dayna at Dayna OG. Dayna, you are monitoring construction workers in Montana. What's going on?
I am. I know. I apologized already if my internet gets wonky. I'm sorry. I am in Montana, our house in Montana, and we're doing some remodeling. So I literally have to babysit construction workers all day. But they're great and it's going to be done soon. So I'm excited. But
is it true that Yellowstone is your favorite show because of its accuracy about Montana?
we've had this conversation. This is the worst show on TV.
I know.
No, not accurate at all. Not at all. But yeah.
If you
but beautiful.
Dana's like the nicest person, but you get her talking about Yellowstone, that show, the flames come out. It gets ugly.
Is it actually good? Because I've never seen Yellowstone.
I mean,
I think it depends on what you like.
Yeah, it's just a mafia show, in Montana. I always say there's not a cattle rancher on the planet who has time to be a mafia boss. It's just not the way it works. So it just annoys me, and I can't stand Kevin Costner, so that makes it even worse. So, yeah. But, people love it. So
okay,
there's a lot of grumbling that happens in that show, but
yeah.
It's not a comedy then? For some reason, I thought it was a comedy.
It is not
I've been living like the last 20 years of my life thinking
I like it.
No.
I like Taylor Sheridan stuff. I admit it, but I can absolutely see why it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, there's some cheese factor for sure.
Yeah.
So I teased, speaking of teasing, I talked about our guest, and I've already got her on stage. So you could see who she is. You could see her name. If for some reason you're under a rock somewhere and you don't know who Stacy Rost is,
Wow.
Stacy Rost is a double major from University of Washington.
That's right.
Not only does she have a degree in English, but she also has a law degree, constitutional law.
Wow, that's a flattering way to put it. It's rather, not only do I have a Bachelor of Arts, I have another Bachelor of Arts. It's what it is. And it's Law, Societies, and Justice, which is like sociology meets political science. I don't even know if they still have it there. It was one of those majors that like feels trendy and you aren't sure if it's like unique to that university. But yeah, two majors.
So Stacy, I'm not going to ask you what year you graduated, but in 2016 when I graduated, they did have it. So It was still relevant then.
Well, I was not very long before you, so.
Honest to God, I thought you were younger than me for like the longest time. So kudos.
That was a very subtle flex, Stacy. Yeah. Don't let him bully you. Don't let him bully you. But no, she's got the double majors, which is great. I'm also a double major guy, but across the country. But I think hosts one of the most fun Seattle sports radio shows out there, and I think people miss the point with sports radio too often. That as someone who does a daily show and constantly is talking about all the analysis, Stacy actually brings the great content, but also brings like just a breath of fresh air. And one of the only people that does that on a daily basis. She and Michael Bumpus host the Bump and Stacy show on Seattle Sports. Stacy, thank you so much for coming back.
I thank you for all the kind words. You guys are gassing me up, and I'm happy to be back. I love your coverage. I love this show, and so I cannot wait to dive in.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the Seahawks. I don't know. It's not going to be like a normal week where we just go super deep. We are going to get to patron questions. We're going to do that whole fun thing. But we're going to start a little bit far afield because I've heard there's a lot of folks that are a little bit burnt out on draft talk. Like it's like enough with everything being about the draft.
Sure.
And I kind of get it. As someone who's talking about the draft all the time, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Seahawks, I've got some questions for you guys. Some of them Seahawks related, some of them not. But recent flight I was on, I unlocked a new method of torture that I have to just share, and I want to know if you guys have a similar method of torture that you've experienced. Do you ever have people that the person that has problems taking a chip out of a bag or like popcorn out of a bag, and it's like the crinkling like that never ends, like it's just like unbelievable, right? There was this guy one row away from me. It wasn't Pete Carroll this time, and he had a bag of nuts that he had brought on the plane. He was one of those people that brings his snacks with him, okay? And he managed to go one nut at a time for an hour, crinkling this bag. And you could say, hey, Brian, just put on the cans, put your headsets on and ignore it.
Yeah, no.
But it was like water torture. I almost had to see how long this was going to go for. I've never heard someone crinkle for that long. So Stacy, I want to know for you, we could stick with airplane pet peeves.
Yeah.
But is there a form of torture that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, right away. It's so unrelated, but it's someone eating a banana. And this job that I used to have, it was this is my second job out of college, with the first one being in the mall. And so the second job out of college is with a startup, and we're in this tiny back room. There's 4, sometimes 5 employees. And one of the employees, God bless him, nicest guy, but just kind of oblivious to all the noise he was always making, like a coffee slurper, that kind of person. And every single day he would have a banana for breakfast, and he would eat this banana louder than anything you've ever heard in your entire life. And when I tell you bananas are the loudest and messiest and gooeyest food someone could possibly eat, I'll never get that sound out of my head. And I think of him now when I see bananas.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
I could, yeah, I don't even want to describe, but that sounds rough. Evan, everything annoys you. So there's got to be something that's top of mind for you.
I actually want to pose a question back to you.
Okay.
So you said this person was row adjacent to you. Is that right?
Yeah, one row behind me. Yeah, across.
One row behind me. Okay.
Across the.
You have 2 options in life. And let's say it's a 5-hour flight to JFK. So it's not 30 minutes to Palm Springs or something from LA.
Yeah.
Jet setter, Evan.
He is.
It's not a hour 43 to.
It's not yeah.
Whatever it is. You either get the person eating one nut at a time for 5 hours straight. So that's option A. Okay. Option B is you have somebody next to you with their shoes off, their socks off, and their feet are positioned on the edges in front of the seat in front of you. So it's incredibly inappropriate. But I need to know from are you taking the poor hygiene, or are you taking the audio torture?
Well, I need to know what level of odor are we talking about here?
Oh, you smell it. It.
Easy. I got headphones. I can always get rid of noises.
You don't have headphones. You forgot them at home.
Oh.
He's gonna run out of peanuts eventually.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't know, man.
This keeps coming back.
I like my personal space. I am an exit row, bulkhead row guy. I will take a middle seat there over an aisle seat in almost any other row. So I think I will still stick with the nut guy. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, airplane etiquette question.
Yeah.
Because my friend experienced this. You mentioned that you're very particular about personal space. You'll pay extra for an aisle in this row. Imagine it's a full flight and a woman comes up and asks, "Oh, I'm pregnant," or "Can I sit next to my husband?" Do you give up your seat?
Oh, absolutely.
You paid extra for it and booked that particular seat.
Okay, reset it for me. What row are we in?
Let's say that you are like it's your ideal spot. Let's say you're like
okay, bulkhead aisle.
Yeah.
Row 6 aisle. Okay.
Or maybe like a business class. You paid extra for this.
Well, business class. I mean, if we're talking international travel, that's a whole nother deal. But let's assume it's 6C. All right, I'm with you.
Yeah,
and you're saying that.
And she's sad.
I'm a sucker for that stuff.
Okay.
I pretty much like. I will make the change, and Stacy, I will text you, and I'll be like, "This motherfucker like took my seat. Like they knew that they could do this, and
this woman."
Yes, no,
Okay.
I would have words for other people, but I would do it because. Yes. I mean, to give you some idea of how.
I'm incredible that I'm blown away that people, not to interrupt here.
Yes.
I'm blown away that people still remember this story that I shared.
Oh, your yoga story is disgusting. We are not going to retell that story. We're not going to retell that story. Hot yoga and sweat in your mouth is not something that needs to be retold again. Dayna, I feel like we haven't given you a chance to join in here. And I'm curious, a Midwest gal like you, do you have things that bother you, or is it everything okay?
Oh God, yes. I'm such a snotty traveler. You have no idea. Like we travel a lot. I'm very lucky. We travel a lot, and I get very pissy about things. I will tell you the feet that it took me years, but I had to break my husband of the habit of taking his shoes off on every single flight. Now, a long flight, I get if you're sleeping or whatever. He'd always leave his socks on, but he'd take his shoes off, and I would just, no. I'm with Sarah Colonna. Anyone who follows Sarah Colonna on Instagram, she has a whole song she sings, and she disinfects everything because people put their feet. She posted this video one time of this girl changing the channel on the screen with her toes. It was disgusting. Right. Nice. So gross. So yeah, that drives me crazy. I will tell you the one thing that really drives me crazy are chronic candy eaters who are individually wrapped. So the crinkling kind of like you, yeah. But it doesn't matter like what the situation is. There's crinkle all the time. That drives me crazy. But I have a tendency to be more of a bit of a grammar crazy person, and so anytime someone mispronounces a word, I will correct them, and it's such a bad habit, and I gotta stop doing it. Someday it's gonna catch me. But that's
you do it on Twitter.
Well, they usually type it correctly, but if it's misspelled, I will let it go because sometimes you just gotta let that go. But if I'm speaking to someone and they say like supposedly, I can't. No, sorry, I have to fix it instantly. It's like, and you guys were talking about your mothers earlier. I'm the mother that still makes her grown children text her in proper sentence form. They has to have punctuation. It has to be capitalized. Has to be the whole thing. So
you know how to party, Dayna. It's
I'm
clear.
Crazy, aren't I? Out of control.
Well, so I've got other random questions to ask. We'll sprinkle them in throughout, but there is a bit of news, and we should talk about it up top. There's some more Seahawks visits that have been announced today for players, and one of them is Jalen Milroe, quarterback for Alabama, who brings a lot of different reactions, as I think we will find out from this show. And before we get to kind of reactions to Jalen Milroe in general, I have a question. I'm going to start with you, Stacy. If you only have two choices you can make. One is the Seahawks do not draft a quarterback at all. The other choice is the Seahawks draft Jalen Milroe at 18 in the first round. Which do you choose?
They don't draft a quarterback at all.
And why is that?
I mean, I think Jalen has a ton of athletic upside. It's the exact reason that everyone's talking about him. Obviously, without Shador and Cam doing much at the combine, much else. Like he did, kind of in part steal the show in addition to Jackson Dart, but at 18, no. This is a player that should not be a first-round pick and might at the end of the first round. But in a bad quarterback class, he might not even be the third quarterback taken. Like, is he the fourth? I don't know. No, absolutely not.
Evan, I know you've got thoughts.
Yeah, I prefer the Seattle Seahawks to draft players that are good at football. and ideally when it comes to the quarterback position, good at throwing the football. It's a very high requirement. But if they draft him, say like bottom of the second, maybe they use the Steelers pick or something, I'm going to hate the pick, but I'm definitely buying his jersey like 45 minutes later. So I'm just setting expectations very clearly, but I mean, I've watched his games, and I'm very upfront about this, guys and gals. Like I'm not a draft guy. I am not an X's and O's guy, but this does not seem like the type of quarterback you spend a high pick on. If it's a late third, a fourth, fine. Like you're throwing a dart, no pun intended, but this guy has a ton of development that needs to happen. He's a major project from a scouting perspective. He's inaccurate, he's indecisive. He's got a nice arm, but like accuracy, when we talk about like historical trends and quarterbacks making the leap, Josh Allen is like he's not the rule. He's the exception, right? Like everybody's like, oh, Josh Allen did it. Cool. 350 other quarterbacks in the past like 3 years didn't do it. So I hate using that like exception in that analogy, but it would pay me quite a bit, Brian. It really would.
Dayna, I don't know if you got a chance to talk to Jalen Milroe at the Combine, but I mean, he's a great kid and a great athlete. But there's this thing that happens where I've seen fans be like, well, Lamar Jackson got drafted at 32. He was a great athlete, and look how he turned out. And I'm kind of like, that's not a good way to try to scout quarterbacks. And in fact, Lamar Jackson was like a Heisman winner. He threw 70 touchdowns in college. He was a great player already. Jalen Milroe is not, but he is an unbelievable runner. So, what do you make of this?
Well, I make two things of it. First of all, I still have no faith that John Schneider will draft a quarterback in this draft at all. I still don't. I'll be shocked if it happens. Just putting that out there. But second of all, I think what ends up happening is that fans can talk themselves into anyone if their team picks them, right? And so they'll be like, well, especially quarterbacks, right? Because we all think that they walk on water. And so they come in and they'll be like, well, this isn't a good quarterback class at all. Your team takes a quarterback in the first round. Oh my God, we got the only good quarterback in the whole entire draft, right? Like it makes no sense. I think Lamar Jackson is an exception. I think, Allen is an exception. The Tom Brady thing drives me crazy. Tom Brady was this like, oh my God, shut up, right? Those are 1 in a million. So no, I'm with Stacy. I would be livid if they took a quarterback before even the 3rd round, to be honest with you, but especially not Milroe and especially not at 18. Oh my God, that would just be a nightmare.
To give you guys some idea, because people, they keep coming back to this. Yeah, just draft him in the late first round, trade back and get him in the... This is a list of the quarterbacks that have been drafted from pick 18 to pick 32 since the year 2000. And I'm going to read them to you in descending order of passing touchdowns. Okay, so these are the best guys first, and then it gets pretty lean pretty fast. Aaron Rodgers, okay, he was pick 24. That's a victory. Joe Flacco was a pick 18, did pretty well. Lamar Jackson, who we've already mentioned. And then Chad Pennington and Jason Campbell and Teddy Bridgewater. Jordan Love. Okay, he's not so bad. Rex Grossman, Kyle Bowler, Patrick Ramsey, JP Lossman, Brandon Weeden, Tim Tebow, Kenny Pickett, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, and Paxton Lynch.
I forgot about him.
That's not a particularly good hit rate. So, Stacy, I mean, you talk about this team all the time, obviously. When you look at what they've done and they've added a young quarterback, I know people don't want to think about it, but Sam Darnold's 27. That's pretty young. How important do you think it is that they draft a quarterback this year at all?
I mean, we're all wondering what the plan is if Sam gets hurt, right? Howell was not good at all. And Brian, you were there at camp and you saw all the questions in training camp to begin the season. Well, put Sam Howell out there. And I'm sure it was driving you crazy because you saw what every other reporter and analyst did, which is you do not want Sam Howell out there. Trust me. I'm also not convinced that Sam Darnold is like a franchise answer, but I am okay with this team not having the answer this year. And I understand that you want more bites at the apple, not just in terms of drafting talent in general, but in terms of drafting quarterbacks in particular, that John Schneider probably wishes he would have taken more. Maybe it's trade bait. Maybe it's someone that ends up working out in a surprise. But I don't see it as like this pivotal thing they must do this year for a team that has a talent gap in several areas, right? They aren't set and just kind of need to figure out quarterback. They need to figure out a couple things. And they can be in limbo there and still be competitive. And I know that doesn't feel like a Super Bowl answer, but I'm okay with that answer right now.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but when Mike McDonald, he was at the owners meeting and he said, I should have had the sound ready for you, but he was like, yeah, we expect to win the Super Bowl. And he actually had a funny little anecdote about it, but it doesn't really, it doesn't sound right. I don't think you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's what we're doing this year. But I think everyone does believe okay, this is a young team trying to get better. And so Stacy, I'm kind of curious, and I'm going to come to you guys, Evan and Dayna as well. Quarterback's one thing. Obviously it's critical. Who needs to step up? Who needs to be a better player than they've been in order for the Seahawks to be an interesting team this year?
Oh, God. So an interesting answer would be like a skill position type player like Riq Woolen would make for an interesting answer, because a great year from Riq Woolen means interceptions and passes defense and really fun stuff. But I think the boring but what feels like correct answer is someone like Christian Haynes or Olu at center. And it's so hard to grade offensive line play until it's awful. You know what I mean? So It's not the sexiest answer, but it is pivotal. And I am not one to turn to a rookie class. I think it's incredibly important they add a guard, but I'm not going to then turn to that guard and go, this is the most important guy. No, it's the guys that you already brought in. Haynes was your second pick of that class. I don't know necessarily what stepping up looks like in some for him, but he's near the top of my list. I don't know that he's number one, but he's the first name.
It was a really rough rookie year. So stepping up for him is
did you play this game?
It's like getting to my height, it's not a big step.
Yeah. Some of us never will. And that's unfortunate.
I could have gone that direction, but I didn't, Stacy. So, you know what? You and I are in good company. The Ian Rappaports and all these guys, they're 5'5".
Yeah, insiders are petite.
Yeah. It's almost a requirement that you're short to be a national reporter. So
wait. How tall is Brady Henderson?
Oh, he's
normal height. He's
5'10", maybe. He's a little taller than me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did beat him at golf. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Important to note that.
Yeah.
Joe Fan was super tall though, right?
He's 6'1", I would say, maybe 6'2".
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe. Evan, what about you? Who are you thinking about that's man, this guy needs to make a leap?
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually, and I promise I'm not stealing Stacy's thunder here. It was the first name that came out of her mouth is Riq Woolen. And the reason I say that is I think about the players that you have on the roster today, and you know what they're capable of. We know what Riq is capable of when he is really locked in, really focused, and really competing hard. I think he's capable of being an all-pro corner. I really do believe that. He's had a couple of inconsistent seasons now. He got benched by Mike McDonald for breaking a team rule this past year. He's had inconsistent moments when it felt like he was a cornerstone piece of the defense, early on when he was making the year 1 to year 2 jump in his career. He's entering a pivotal moment here because it's not just the status of this or I think the trajectory of this team, he's also about to enter this is his fourth year, I believe, right? In the NFL, like it's contract negotiation time. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be thinking about an extension soon if he isn't already. If he has an excellent year, he could be paid like a top NFL corner. And we're talking like 20s, right? Like that's what a corner can get. Yeah, exactly. What's that guy from Houston that like reset the record?
Oh, Stingley.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. His numbers were crazy. I forgot what it was, but it was like, wasn't it like 30 million a year or something? It was like
he made a good man. JC Horn even like with Carolina.
3 years, 90 million. That's insane, right? He reset from JC Horn. He said it, $5 million more per year. I'm looking at the contract. So I think it's a Rick Woolen, or I think it's a Devin Witherspoon. You know what that guy is capable of? He's capable of being an all-pro. We need to see it consistently from him. I was really happy with him throughout parts of 2025. But I need him to generate more turnovers as well. So, I think it's one of those two guys.
They're talking defense there a little bit offensive line, a little bit defensive backfield.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Wait, let me just say this though about Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen. So interestingly enough, so Devin Witherspoon, he had 66 solo tackles, right? So that's amazing. Well, Rick only had 32, right? We knew that there was an issue there. But you get down there, passes defended, Woolen 14, Witherspoon 9, right? And then interceptions, Woolen 3, Witherspoon 0. So it's interesting that people come down so hard on Rick Woolen, but still praise Witherspoon, because I know that you said he needed to step up too, Evan. I totally agree with you, but I just think it's so interesting. I'm not defending him. We want more. I think we want more on the field, less attitude off the field, sort of a thing from him. But I find that really interesting. I don't think that we can really get too irritated at any of these defensive players the way that defense rebounded last year. I'm very happy with the way they ended up, and I'm good with that. I think you have to look more on the offensive side of the ball. If this was pre-DK going, I would say DK Metcalf, because I just felt like we needed more from him. We needed more from Tyler if we were going to get more from Tyler. And JSN killed it, right? So those guys now being gone, you have to look at who else is left. So in not a bad way, but hopefully in a good way, I want more from Bobo. I want more from the tight ends. I want them to step up more. Now, hopefully we'll get some additions in there, right? Really, fingers crossed, in the tight end department, we can really hopefully get some in there. But I think I really would like some more from those offensive playmakers that are left to kind of pick up and step up a little bit more. Because even with the lack of production we were getting necessarily out of Tyler and DK and some of the other players, we didn't see a huge step up from any of the other players other than JSN. So I think I would really like that. And then the whole line, all of them, the whole lot of them.
Yeah, I think those are all good answers. I think the better answer is Byron Murphy. Why don't you guys say Byron Murphy? Come on, Byron Murphy.
So stupid.
Byron Murphy.
I'm disappointed in all of you. No, honestly, those are all. I mean, there's so many guys that qualify for this, but Byron Murphy for me is a guy that's got to step up. I think the edges, Boy Mafe, Derek Hall, need to take like edge rush. Like there's pass rush in general is I think an underrated issue with this team. They were good last year. They were not good enough, even with Leonard Williams playing the way he played. And so, for this defense to actually be good enough to like buffer this offense, the pass rush has got to be better, man. It's just got to be better. So I think Byron Murphy's a big part of that.
There's a big inconsistency when you look at the sacks. Obviously, we have Leonard Williams had 11, but then the next closest is Jaron Reed at 4.5. So you're right. There needs to be more consistency across the way there.
Well, Boy Mafe disappeared.
Right.
Right? Like the whole, after going on that 8 or 9 sack streak, I don't think he had a sack the rest of the season. I could be wrong, but
he had 6 total.
It dried up. Did you guys see Byron Murphy has shaved? Did you guys see the
his
latest
head?
Byron Murphy? He looks so much younger. I'm trying to find a picture. God darn it! Is it Instagram? Everyone's getting married. Have you guys?
Leonard, no, was it Leonard?
Yeah, Brady
Russell.
Brady Russell got married. Mike Morris got married. Leonard Williams got married. Oh, well,
DK
DK's
got
not on the
engaged.
team anymore.
He
We're not
got
going to talk
engaged.
about DK.
Yeah, but celebrity engagement, so that counts. So we claim Normani still. That's how that works.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Stacy, you get a chance to talk to some of these players, and I'm curious, what's your kind of impression of the locker room, or the like the identity of, like, what's the vibe that you got from this team? Now, knowing that there's some guys that obviously it's a big change, but like, I find myself like still looking for what it is. It didn't feel like it coalesced last year into like, this is really what defines these guys and brings them together.
Yeah, it felt so. I'll preface this by saying I barely get to be in the actual locker room now with the show, because it's the same time as locker room availability. But on the flip side, we get to interview every single player, like not one-on-one, but it's the three of us and them. So you get more time with them, but you don't get to see the vibe together. Conversely, I was in the locker room 2015, 16, 17. So I at least have something to compare a general vibe to. So I'm curious to see what you think about the actual locker room feeling. It felt like, based on our early interviews to late interviews, like when you're on your best behavior with a new teacher. And I know that feels like an easy thing to say with a new head coach, but it just felt like everyone was polite, sometimes a little boring, and almost like independent of each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't remember many interviews we had, particularly early, when it was like the idea from every single player is, we're grinding for this. And the unique thing about interviewing them separately is it's like, okay, do they say the same thing? Like, what's the messaging here? When they don't get a chance to communicate with each other, what do they say? And it's like, it just felt disjointed. And the thing is, like, that, and I know you can attest to this, that building has so many good people. Like, there are really likable players and likable people. So it's not a knock on personality per se, but it just felt separated. And it didn't quite become a little cohesive until later. And even now I'm like, what's the identity? Are they hungry? Like, who are the, energetic guys?
That is perfectly said. Perfectly said. And it really captures kind of the way it felt. Is I didn't really see like the band of brothers, like the guys, if anything, like when Jason Peters came in, like Mr. like geriatric retired like guy, he came in and they would start like there's a little like what's it called, like shuffleboard, but it's like when you push it instead of like with the sticks, like the table.
Wait, you push it with the sticks?
It's like, no, sorry, that's on the deck of a boat. It's called shuffleboard. But I'm talking about like the tables you get at a bar with the little pucks.
Still shuffleboard.
It's still shuffleboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, there's one of those tables in the locker room.
Early?
And when Jason Peters came, like, they were always playing. And there was always a group there, and they were always hanging out. Before, it was untouched. And it's like just one little thing.
That's very Carlos Santana.
I do wonder if there was like this feeling of a lot of individuals and people talk about there was a problem in the locker room. That wasn't it. Like, great guys. I think they like each other, but I'm not sure that they've like coalesced yet into like a real unit. And I think that's going to take winning. I think it's going to take coaching, and I think it's going to take some personality as well. That's why I think Ernest Jones was a really big signing, because I think he is part of that crew. Dayna, I saw you nodding vigorously. What were you thinking there?
Well, you already know what I think about this. And I won't say the B word, because I know you guys get sick of me saying Paige, but it just seems like there needs to be a spark. There seems to be a lacking of a spark. And I don't know if that comes from a major disrespect that then they have to come back from, or if somebody major gets hurt and they have to kind of, rally around that person. I don't know, but in my opinion, I think it's up to the coaching staff. And I'm not saying it's all Mike McDonald. I'm saying all the coaching staff to get these guys to have a little bit more cohesion on and off the field. I just don't feel like there is a link between all of them. And I think that is the one thing that Pete Carroll was very good at making sure happened, that they just haven't gotten to yet. Now, I will say this, that those rookie classes, the guys who came in together, JSN and Devin Witherspoon, they seem to have a nice little bond. Like that seems. But I think with some of those veterans, maybe that have been on a couple other teams or what have you, I think that they need to kind of somehow get them to band together. And I don't know what that's going to take. Winning fixes everything. Obviously, we know that, right? But I just think that it's a little, there just needs to be something to kind of get them as a unit. And I'm not saying on the field, because the defense plays great together and we're going to see what the offense does. I mean, off the field, it'll be interesting to see how that changes maybe over this year.
Like a shared goal. I was almost thinking of after what happened in the Eagles locker room with their loss to Kansas City in Super Bowl, what was it, 57? I can't remember. But the idea of, yes, that winning can definitely bring you together, but sometimes falling short does in a way too. And not in a way that can fracture a locker room. Losing a Super Bowl can. And certainly after Super Bowl 49, you also lost in the worst way. I'm sorry to even mention it. That's blasphemous. But like that fractured the team. But like falling short, against Atlanta or like the year prior to 2013, like knowing what you had and knowing you were entering the season with something, but also a feeling of disappointment that you wanted to right. I think that can do a lot for a team too.
I do think too.
Go ahead,
oh,
Dayna.
sorry. I was just gonna say, I do think too that Mike McDonald saying, "Oh, the goal is Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl." If the team knows that's not where they're at, they're not going to rally around that. But as Stacy said, if they know that it's possible, then they can. So you have to find something else if the team doesn't buy into that yet to make them believe.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. Like Evan, Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, if you hadn't heard, no longer with the team. Pete Carroll, no longer with the team. And in fact, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith were press conferencing it up earlier this week as Geno's been introduced. And you may want to clear up for everybody that like the contract situation. I know this is like maybe not as big a deal for everyone else, but like there's been a lot of information out there. Before we get to that though, I want to pose a question for you, Evan.
Yeah.
The 4-13 Las Vegas Raiders. If you had to guess right now, who do you think has a better record in 2025, the Seattle Seahawks or the Raiders? And if the Raiders have a better record than the Seahawks in 2025, how do you think that'll go in Seattle?
I know the Twitter reaction was going to be predictably awful. I'm going to lean Seahawks slightly, but I don't think it's going to be a big separation. I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 game spread, maybe. I think Geno and Pete are going to come into Las Vegas and immediately start putting some things together. I don't think they're going to be like contenders or anything. They've got some nice pieces, but they're not going to be like a 13-4 football team or anything like that. I would be shocked if they were.
Can I just say the fans in Kansas City are panicked about Vegas this next year? All of the people that I know, and they're panicked. I know, but you have to understand, Chiefs fans are spoiled rotten, and they have been used to just bowling over this entire division, and now they're like, wait, Pete Carroll and Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh and Geno now instead of it's hilarious. I bask in the happiness. It makes me so happy.
Did you guys see the reactions from Raiders fans to Geno's contract?
I did peruse Reddit.
Okay. And what did you find?
So I just went on one thread because I was curious, and I'm a big lurker. Like, let me lurk on subreddit and see what this other team is saying about this.
Me too, Stacy.
Yeah. And they felt like surprised that it wasn't 45. And thinking, oh, team friendly. Like the vibe I got was like happy with it. What have you seen?
I got, at least on the Twitter announcements of the deal, it was a pretty good mix of we're paying a totally mid quarterback that much money, and people like, oh, that's excited to have him here. But it gave me just this like, oh man, not as strong of a feeling as when Russell went to Denver and it was like, enjoy that, Broncos fans, like have fun with that. I love Geno and was like, happy for him that he got what he wanted and he and Pete are gonna have a great time, whatever. But I also am not gonna miss the divisiveness of he was a polarizing player. Like,
I will miss that.
you will miss that.
Yeah,
It made for good content, huh?
It makes for great. That's the thing is I'm like, sometimes my measure of what I think is interesting, I realize like maybe the majority of our listeners don't like this. I think quarterback controversies or controversies around one quarterback are fascinating. I could like, I also think bad things are fascinating. Like I could talk about the Mariners' struggles and like issues forever. And then I'm like, I can't hit the pause button, man. People are getting fatigued. Let's roll it back to something else. But I think it's fascinating discourse. I get feeling like, God, good riddance. I feel like there's no way as a reporter to ever win with a take about Geno. But I also think that he is a fascinating measure of the reality of quarterbacking and of team building in the NFL. The fact that people are upset with what he's making, that's market value. Like, I know that we are, baffled by the money in the NFL in general. And so you go, he had how many interceptions and he's getting 37, 38, 39 million and he's getting guaranteed money. Yeah, guess what? That's just the market value. That's the going rate. I don't know what to tell you. He's proven more than Sam Darnold. And so the Seahawks were reportedly willing to offer him more, at least, just not guaranteed money. I don't begrudge them for that at all. But there's also a completely fair argument to be made about not just a flawed quarterback, but an older quarterback, and how few quarterbacks you'd actually put your own money behind. And you realize that number is so small. And well, what do the rest of the people do? Like, what do the rest of these teams do that don't have that clear answer? It's fascinating. I could talk about it endlessly. I'm still going. I'll shut up. But
this is why you're you're good in the job you've got. I think Sam Darnold's going to be a challenge for you for at least a little while because he does not like.
You're not sold on your.
He does not like elicit a reaction.
Oh no.
It's like putting up a Rorschach test that has no ink. Like it's like react to this blank page, and it's like I don't know. I mean, there's some people that will try to say that he's better than Geno. Honestly, that is such an empty. That's an empty perspective. If Sam Darnold was even comparable, like close to Geno Smith from a market perspective, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Giants, the Jets, like there's a number of teams that needed quarterbacks, would not have traded a third-round pick for a 8-year-old older player. They would have just signed Sam Darnold. So, like, I like Sam Darnold. I think he has the potential to be great for the Seahawks. I think he could be, like, still improving, all good things. But to argue that he's better than Geno or equivalent to Geno for less money, no one in the NFL front offices seem to believe that's the case, or there would have been a very different market for him. So I don't know. I don't think I think he has a little bit of the Geno stigma because he was this failed early pick. But I just don't know that people feel much about him. Have you gotten any? Do any of you guys have strong feelings about Sam Darnold?
I think it's going to be very funny if he
I
has
like that he likes birds.
Wait, what?
That's cool.
There's a
for bald eagles, so I was like, I saw that he was really into what's bird watching called? Ornithology.
Birding.
I don't know, bird watching, and I was like, respect. But no, I had otherwise no reaction. I mean, we talked to people from Minnesota, and we also talked with we had Greeny on the other day, obviously diehard Jets fan, and he was like, I was begging this team not to get rid of Sam Darnold. I think they absolutely ruined him. Like they completely sabotaged him, and I still think he's great. But even he was like, well, no, you're not going to get what you got with the Vikings. So I think it's just like everyone's in wait and see mode with one single season of something they loved, and not a huge personality or a divisive person.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. We should take some patron questions. Dayna, if you want to pull those up, folks at patreon.com/hawkblogger. Sign up to get access to the Discord channel where you get to ask us questions each and every week. And I know that there's some questions specifically for Stacy. So we tried to make sure people would make her feel as uncomfortable as possible with the questions that they asked. So we'll see what they came up with. There's also probably some for Evan as well. We'll find out. What do you
All
got
right,
there,
this one,
Dayna?
yeah. So I'm going to start with the one for Stacy from Swami Scoop. It's Imani. I love how everyone changed their name when they went to Discord too. By the way, it totally confused me. Anyway, Stacy, what's your go-to sources for everything Seahawks? Sources you can share, of course, whether it's local or national coverage. Who is your favorite listens?
Oh, I actually do a lot of reading. I think that our local reporters, and I'm not just saying this, are amazing. I think Brian's work is amazing. I always check in with the Times regularly. Brady has really great sources and always gets his hands on really good intel. And typically, if I see something, and I'll be like, okay, did Brady say this? Did Bob say this? Like, as far as just verifiable thing. But Michael Sean Dugar is doing great stuff too with The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the same sources everyone reads. Like when I do show prep, it literally just means looking at all these people I follow and go, what did Brian see at the combine? What did he have? Did he have any good quotes? Let's, include this viral interview that he had at the show, or what is Brady hearing about the contract negotiations? You just kind of comb through what everyone is saying and pull it together and go, this is what we know. So yeah, I wish I had like some secret, shout them out kind of podcast, but basically all the guests you guys have had on probably.
Is it more common for you to be setting the show agenda, or that Bump has got things that he wants, or one of your producers?
We just email each other, and this is how it works for most shows. And you're like, sometimes it's one thing, and you're like, this is the only thing I care about, genuinely. We'll figure it out tomorrow. And sometimes you're like, okay, I really care about, let's say I emailed them tomorrow, and I was like, man, I was, on with the Hawk Blogger crew, and we were talking about Geno, and I'm sorry, I have to get back to this because I started talking about team building and with quarterbacks that are question marks, just something that interests you. And Bump brings a lot of like most of his show prep is looking up like stats analysis, mm-hmm. right? He's the second chair, like the former players, like that's what you're doing. And me and Curtis just go through and like, what's funny, what's interesting, and kind of collab once we get there for about an hour and a half.
I love it. All right. What else we got there, Dayna?
So I have a question. Am I trying to work around draft questions since we weren't talking draft this show, or it doesn't matter? Okay, awesome. Because there's some good ones in there too.
Yeah,
all right.
Go ahead.
This one I love though. So I want to hear from both, or actually all three of you. This is from Jeff. If the 2005 Seahawks played the 2012 Seahawks, who would win? I love this question. Nice job. I'm going to say 12, but that's just me. Okay. Evan, you look so perplexed. I have to know your answer.
So my memory of the 2005 Seahawks is very bad because I was 9 years old.
For God's sake, just shut up.
I'm going to go with the 2012 Seahawks because they are better in my memory.
Can I throat punch him, please?
That's the love that we have on this show.
Brian, do you remember the 2000?
I do. I'm going to let Stacy go next.
I was leaning 2005 at first for just a split second. I'm probably going to go 2012. That I know it was the earlier iteration. They kind of really take off clearly in 2013 and then 14. So 2013, 14 might be an easier answer, but I'm sticking 2012. 2005, incredibly underrated. Incredibly underrated. It's like the 2001 Mariners. It's just a team we don't talk about enough that we kind of just,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very tempting to go 2012 because it's definitely the more talented team. 2005 was a better team. 2005 was a better team. I mean, that was a Super Bowl team, should have won the Super Bowl. The 2012 team had some real flaws. The pass rush was so thin that when Chris Clemens got injured, like they had nobody. Bruce Irvin that was like all that was left in that Atlanta game. Remember, they got pretty rolled in that Atlanta game, took a big comeback to get close. And while they really came together toward the end of that season, that didn't really transfer into the playoffs that year. Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson were both Hall of Fame level offensive linemen, and I think it's been so long. Evans, like Adams, do not understand what it means to watch a Pro Bowl Hall of Fame level offensive lineman. Like, it's just not in his genetic makeup to understand what that is.
You haven't experienced that.
That's true.
You don't know this, Evan, but that Super Bowl was stolen.
It's actually the very first Seahawks game I ever remember watching. I just remember bawling.
It explains a lot about you. Yeah. And also explains probably why what happened. You are the key link that people didn't realize until now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'd go 2005.
Good.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's do this one from Jason A. Brian has mentioned Gray Zabel has potential to play at center. How would you feel if they took Zabel at 18 and then an additional interior lineman prospect at 52 before addressing any other position? Stacy.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite. Is that a question for me or for Stacy? Sorry.
Well, both of you. Whoever. It doesn't say who
Brian,
it's for. It just says you had mentioned it.
You're right.
Yeah.
I thought you directed it at me. My bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it just says Brian has mentioned is what it said. But
it's my favorite draft combo. So either Gray Zabel at 18 and then another guard, or a guard at 18, Gray Zabel at 18, and Jared Wilson, who is making a visit to the Seahawks or made a visit to the Seahawks, and hopefully I'm going to try to get him on the show if I can make that happen. But I think the potential for getting 2 upgrades on that line, maybe they're not starters this year, but they're guys that all have potential to push the guys that are on the roster. So I think it's a great way to go. And honestly, 3 out of the first 5 picks, 3 out of the first 92 picks in the draft, if they're offensive linemen, I wouldn't blink twice.
that'd be amazing. All right. Let's see. Stacy, I'm going to give this one to you. It's from In the River. We all know that interior lineman is our biggest need this offseason. So putting that aside, what are some other areas of the team could see the biggest improvement through the draft? Sorry.
Oh, Dayna, you mentioned one earlier, which was tight end. I don't know that they're going to get their hands on either of the early ones who are going to be, first rounders. But I was looking up. Curtis and I have a running joke where it's just, and it's not unique, but it's Jimmy Graham did nothing wrong. And the point of the joke is to highlight how Jimmy Graham's stats just completely demolish most other tight end numbers. And part of that is a generational thing, right? Like those numbers became more common with Gronk and Jimmy Graham kind of, catapulting into that. But like the Seahawks gave Will Dissly a massive contract. He never got more than like 400 receiving yards in a season. Like they just have not gotten what they need from tight ends. And it does not quite get ignored as much as offensive linemen do. But it's so pivotal, and it feels like especially pivotal for what Clint wants to do here as well. And so I would love to see them add to that room. I'd love to see that room get more attention and just evolve, because it has very quietly been underutilized and just kind of glossed over. I don't know why. I don't know why, but that's the first thing that came to mind. There are plenty of other groups, but immediately thought tight end.
Why the hell is Noah Fant still on this roster?
Noah Fant has, behind Jimmy Graham, the second most receiving yards in a single season by a tight end.
For Seattle?
For Seattle.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure. Or no, I should say the most, not the second most, the most since Jimmy Graham.
I see. Okay.
Not
$13.5 million this year.
Evan, what are you talking about, dude? Like Jason Myers is like 6th on the team in cap hits. So
that's correct. That's correct. He needs an extension too. Could lower his cap.
Anyway, so this one is from Sovereign Alex. It says it's for the group, but I'm going to start with Evan on this one. It says, what do we think the realistic expectations for Cooper Kupp should be? Are we just expecting a $15 million a year mentor for JSN that can block, or something else?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to his season last year, everybody thinks about the injuries, rightfully so, and he has struggled to stay healthy for a full 16, 17 games for several seasons in a row now. But there was a stretch, especially early on, midway through the season, around the injuries where he was still very productive in LA. Like, he was still logging 100, 150 receiving yards per game. And he looked like he still had it. So I think the sort of like emotional, mental aspect of him being a mentor for JSN is probably where he's going to bring the most value for this team, like from a long-term perspective. But I think people might be shocked. Like, let me put it this way. I think there's a very real potential outcome where Cooper is healthy for like 14 or 15 games and does put up like 1,011, 1,200 yards. I don't think that's like out of the realm of possibility at all. So depends how they use him, but I think a lot of people are assuming he's washed, and I'm like not convinced he's 100% washed yet. So I may come to regret this, but that's how.
That was a pretty tepid, I'm not convinced he's not 100% washed. Is like about
56, 57% washed.
I don't think Cooper Kupp will watch that and be like, oh man, there's my new number one fan. So I don't think you have to worry about going too far on a limb.
That's what's going to bring this team together.
Evan Hill.
Yes. By the way, can I just say something? We were talking about personality, Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp. I just love this like bland white boy aesthetic that's being brought back into the VMAC. Have you seen these auras that they are bringing back into this building?
Brought back into the have you seen the War Room? Bland white boys in there for a minute now, Evan.
That's a valid point.
I'm just kidding. John Schneider's very funny. No.
All right, Dana, let's take one more. One more.
All right, so this one is for Stacy also, but Stacy, you have every right to refuse to answer this question. Just saying that. Okay?
Uh-oh.
This is from Boca Hawk. Stacy, what is something you would like to share about yourself that you have never shared in a forum like this before? And I only asked that because it had your name on it, so I wanted to make sure.
Oh God. Can I just share the last embarrassing thing? That I can't think of something interesting, but can I just feel validated and connected with you guys in solidarity for a minute? I thought about opening the show with this tomorrow, and then I was like, why would I open the show with this? You know, when you say bye to someone and then you realize you're going in the same direction? That happened to me earlier today, and it was mortifying. And it was Brad and Angie at T-Mobile, and we were leaving, and I was in the elevator, and I was like, okay, bye guys, see you later. And then I turned to the elevator attendant, and she was like, this is the basement. Like, this doesn't go And I was like, oh my God. And then I told her, I said, can I just wait here for like 30 seconds? And she was like, yeah. That's not like a fun fact. I just wanted to share that with you guys.
That qualifies. That clears for sure. Clears for sure. I have one more question for all of you before we let you go. And before I do, just thanks to everybody on patreon.com/hawkblogger who signs up, supports us, and asks questions every week. So, by the way, you also get ad-free audio of this show at patreon.com/hawkblogger. So sign up now. Last question for y'all. Because Stacy, I think you're an excellent interviewer. You guys, as you mentioned, you bring on a lot of folks into your shows. Dana, I've heard you talk to players. Evan, I think you ask great questions, even though they are some of the oddest questions. I think that's part of what makes you who you are. So this is not about an interview, but if you were going to ask somebody a question to determine, like you had one question you could ask them to figure out if you thought this person was going to be a friend, someone that you'd want to be friends with, what would you ask them? And if you have more than one, I will allow it. But what's the first question you'd want to know? What would you want to know about somebody to determine whether or not you thought they would be a good friend for you? Doesn't have to be a good friend in general, a good friend for you.
Okay, I have two possibles.
Okay.
Can I say both?
Yes.
Okay. My light one is I have no hobbies. And so my closest friends I talk about TV shows and like what we ate. And like,
Yes.
that's just genuinely like my best friend. The thing that we like talk about most is Real Housewives. So my light question would be like, so what do you do? And if they're like, oh my God, I love camping, I'd be like, I wish you the best. Like, Godspeed. The more interesting question is kind of like if you wanted to know the type of friend, like I'd want to know like, when did you let a friend down? Or like, I want to know what to them being a bad friend is, or disappointing someone is. I think that can be insightful.
There's a reason I'm asking. We'll get back to this, and you
Okay.
helped. You're setting this up perfectly.
I like
so
that
thank
one.
you for that,
Okay.
Dayna. You're next.
I think the obvious one is, do you watch football? I think that would be
Really, is that it? Like
very-
that primary for you?
Well, it's pretty primary because it's kind of a big chunk of my life, right? So if I can't talk to you about that, like that's a whole thing. The other one would probably be, what kind of music do you listen to? Because I think that tells you a lot about a person.
What would be a good answer to that question for you?
Oh, see, now someone's going to get mad at me because I'm going to say,
No, it's personal. Not everyone's friends with everybody.
I would be like, the worst answer would be probably country music, but that's just me.
All right.
So,
See,
yeah,
everyone's they got their taste. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Evan, I'm dying to know your answer to this.
You know, my mind is in like a really weird spot and then like a more normal spot. Which one do you want?
Both.
I'd ask if like you put your shopping cart away, like after you're done at the grocery store. That's like the normal one. It's like, do you just put it on the curb or do you walk the extra 10 seconds? That's like my serious mature answer.
Yeah, do you make it someone else's problem?
Exactly. Like, do you have some semblance of self-awareness?
Yeah.
The real question I would ask somebody is, if you were forced to join or start a cult, what cult would it be? And would you be a leader or a follower in the cult?
Oh my God.
Well, if I'm starting the cult, obviously I'm in charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to
sure.
start the cult and be like, now I got to hire a leader.
This guy over here.
Well,
micromanaging the cult. I'm like, well, did you do this?
I've been thinking a lot about cults recently because do any of you guys watch The Handmaid's Tale?
No.
Or have seen it, yeah.
Or have seen it?
Yeah.
Do you know the main girl is a Church of Scientologist, like super deep? It like ruined it for me. I can't even watch the show now. So anyways, that's my answer, Brian.
Well, I love that for you. I would love to know how often you've actually asked that question of somebody. Someone says, Charlie the Unicorn says, what is the best place to dispose of a body?
I've thought about that a lot.
Or will you help me hide it?
Do you have an answer to that?
I've thought about, my parents live in Vancouver, Washington, and it's a 3.5-hour drive. And I'm not kidding. At least once every other drive, I think, man, you could just throw a body in stretches of this highway, not even that far from the highway. Yes. It's not developed. No one lives there. It's just woods. They're never gonna develop it. And I've thought multiple times, like, I bet there could be a body in there now. And I'm just driving by it. And so, yeah, that was my answer. Somewhere off of I-5 between
so you must be a true crime podcast listener.
That is correct.
Yes. Do you listen to My Favorite Murder?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. That's awesome.
So part of the reason I asked this question is because one of the things I think I would ask is, if you're sitting on your couch and you turn on the TV and an Adam Sandler movie's on.
Wow.
It's just on.
This has been a great time.
Do you turn the channel?
I'm so sorry.
Brian, is this inspired by anything? Is this conversation inspired by anything, Brian?
Well, I'm trying to do Stacy a solid.
The Adam Sandler one, though.
I turned on because I turned on Bump and Stacy, as I often do.
Thank you.
And I hear maybe like the most blasphemous take on a sports radio station I've ever heard.
I got a
lot
of
heard Stacy going after Adam Sandler movies, one after the other, after the other.
Did we go after it, or did I paint a truth where a truth exists? I pulled back a curtain and showed people what they'd been staring at the whole time. I just said, the thing is, I I actually really like Adam Sandler. I think that he is good at mixing like a sentimental feeling with comedy. I just don't think his like 90s into the 2000s comedy movies are laugh out loud funny. I think they're all kind of the same. I don't hate them. Like, it's not like a sore spot where I'm like, why do people like him? But every Adam Sandler movie is, I talk like this. And there's like a really hot girl who I'm going to be really weird in front of, but eventually she's going to fall in love with me anyway, even though she's like way out of my league and like super normal and pays taxes. And I'm like unemployed or like a billionaire's son, one of the two. And like, there's a sport somehow involved where he's good at another sport and then has to learn to adapt to like a highbrow society. It's all the same. It's all the same. I'm a fish out of water. That's Adam Sandler. And I didn't say
Stacy's
it with my heart. It's just, you know.
I will say
he's my new favorite person. I love it. I agree. I agree 100%.
Thank you very much.
See, I'm making friends. Yes,
I've
go ahead.
I've got to get one take out there. In terms of rom-coms, 30 First Dates is like iconic.
Isn't it 50 First Dates?
For 50 First Dates.
Yes. Even I know. So iconic.
I just want to let you know, Stacy. I mentioned it on social, so you know, trying to help out.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure you got the marketing people up in a bundle because I mean your demographic.
That's exactly.
They were like 100% of your demographic loves Adam Sandler movies.
Yes, I am not our demographic. And sometimes I forget that. Like, I'm like, oh, like I watch sports and I think that I have all these things in common. And then I'll be like, so anyways, Married at First Sight yesterday, it was a crazy episode. And then Curtis would be like, you gotta quit. Like, what I made fun of Curtis and Bump, and I was like, you guys just like would hang out in the garage, like pretending to putt something with a putter, talking about NBA teams from the 90s. And a bunch of people texted in, they were like, that sounds awesome. I would love to do that. Guys being dudes. So yeah, I didn't mean to insult Adam Sandler. I have a lot of respect for Adam Sandler, but his movies all just kind of blend together for me.
They do. It is a brilliant money-making machine. Why would you broke what ain't doesn't need fixing?
Yeah.
I think is what I wanted to say.
For sure.
All
Thanks
right.
for calling me out.
I felt like you know we needed to have that conversation. It's mainly the main reason I actually asked you on the show.
I wanted to double down. Like I wasn't
to build
gonna...
up the courage.
Yeah.
To ask the question.
You.
So you did. You doubled down. I think we've cleared.
Out.
I think we've cleared this, and now Dayna and you are connected on a whole new level. So I appreciate that as well. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. It's been a fun evening. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us in the depths of the off season where oh my gosh, finding we have to have interesting people because the topics at this point are a little bit
non-existent. Yeah.
I don't know how you do this 3 hours a day every day. I watch the Mariners as well. It's not easy. It's not easy. So bless you for doing it. And tell folks, is there anything that they should know that's coming up on
Stacy? We are, I know that you guys are probably sick and tired of the draft. We are diving more into it next week. Tomorrow we're just going to have some fun. The Mariners obviously had a fun game and we're trying to take advantage of that. So yeah, it's going to be pretty heavy baseball. Oh, also, I know that most people here are Seahawks fans, but if you like to dabble in this kind of tone for baseball, Jordan Schusterman is a regular guest with us now. I think a really fun, entertaining listen, much like you guys, it's you kind of want entertainment with what you're listening to. So we're going to have him on Wednesdays. So if you make one day to listen to us, Wednesdays can be fun.
Love it. Love it. Thanks everybody. That is Stacy Rost. Make sure you check her out. I was bumping Stacy on Seattle Sports every morning. Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB and Dayna O'Gorman at Dayna OG. I will answer some super chats here, but I'm going to let everybody else get back to the rest of their evenings. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. So that was fun. And we've got a couple super chats here I want to get to. Supersauce XL says Seahawks don't like the center class this year, quote unquote. Yet Jared Wilson made a visit today. Which one is it? Well, I think Jeff Simmons actually answered this pretty well on our show this past weekend when he said, John Schneider literally said it's just not a great center class. He didn't say that there were no centers that he liked. So we all actually, I asked Jared Wilson about whether he met with the Seahawks at the Combine. He said that he did. He loved meeting with Steve Hutchinson. You can go find the interview, look for Jared Wilson on my channel. You can listen to that. He lit up when he talked about meeting with the Seahawks. The fact that they had him come for a 30 visit, I think indicates that they were pretty interested as well. And so that doesn't mean they like the center of class, but it could mean that they like Jared Wilson. And if he's available at the pick that they want to pick him, he could be a guy that makes sense for them. So I thought that was pretty good news today. Richie Brash, member for 11 months. What the heck? I'm behind, but the entire beginning of this show is an attack on my entire Seahawks belief system. Jalen Milroe or bust. I know Richie has been a Jalen Milroe fan for a long time. I'm telling you, it was a very, very rough Senior Bowl for Jalen Milroe, and it wasn't just me. Just about everybody that analyzes football and was there, I think, left with a similar perspective. But he is a really good guy, hard worker, good leader, and has elite legs. And one of the things, if you want to look at the 4 teams that made the conference championship this year, every single one of their quarterbacks could move. Doesn't mean all of them were, rushing for 800 yards like Jaden Daniels, or could rush for 100 yards in a game like Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. But Patrick Mahomes absolutely can create with his legs, both running and scrambling, just to create longer on pass plays. So it is a very important part of playing the quarterback position now in the modern NFL. Jalen Milroe's got the best weapon in that regard. And now you've got Sam Darnold, who can be your quarterback for the next few years and maybe for longer. If the Seahawks choose to take a flyer on someone like Jalen Milroe in the second round, I don't think that's the craziest thing. It's not what I would necessarily get super excited about. But the fact of the matter is, I'd be probably more believing in his upside as his highest ceiling than I would be in trying to say that Jackson Dart's got a super high ceiling, or that, Quinn Ewers has. I'd be more excited about them drafting Jalen Milroe than Quinn Ewers. I'll tell you that much. So we'll see. We'll see. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to try once again. We'll see if I can get this done. I'm going to try to do a show that I do every year. And it's not one you're going to want to miss. It is something where I go over John Schneider's draft tendencies. And they're very clear. I'll talk to you about which positions he's drafted the most, which positions he's drafted the least, what rounds he tends to draft the most, which rounds he tends to draft which positions. I will tell you about when the rumor is John Schneider only trades down. Not true. I will tell you when he trades down and when he trades up. So we'll go through his draft tendencies. It is for my money, it is a very important thing to understand as a Seahawks fan, because it's been very predictive over the years. There's some things that he's changed, but for the most part, it's been a pretty good way to understand how he approaches the draft. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow, assuming I can get the spreadsheets to do what I want them to do. And if they don't, then I'll just talk you through it, and it won't be as nice as the visuals as I would hope they would be. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your evening. I am Brian Nemhauser. This has been another episode of Real Hawk Talk. Take care, y'all.